What's up, everybody? Welcome to Fantasy Smack Talk. I'm Namco. This is Dust. If you're watching this, congratulations. That means in the second round of the playoffs, or you're in the consolation game, you still care, so I respect that as well. All right, before we get into it, as everyone knows, or maybe not, but you might remember, we did an FST league where we put 4 forum members into the mix. So I just want to let you know the way our G3PO set up was only 4 teams made the playoffs. So this is our first week. Myself, Mike, Lincoln, and J-Rule, 4 FST experts, are in the playoffs. Told you we were going to dominate. We're going to have a chance next year. If you guys want to get into it, start getting active in the forums. That's how we got the first couple guys in. See if you can beat us. I told you we're going to this year.
Almost made it.
I got a little lucky. My team's actually kind of awful. Better be lucky than good, though, right? All right, Dustin, give him a tip. I'm done with our bragging.
All right, so last week, crazy week in the NFL. All the weather, but a ton of points. So it brought up a good time to bring up one thing that happens this time of year all the time as far as those bad weather games and potentially overthinking who you're going to start or not start. I mean, here's the deal, and it was proven last week. It shouldn't be any more than a tie break if you're trying to decide between a couple of people, but the only thing you really need to pay attention to is it a blizzard? We saw that in the first half of the Detroit game. That's going to have an impact. Are there really, really strong winds? And is your kicker playing in one of those games? Because the kicker is the one position, just swap them out. You know, go get a different kicker.
Don't even risk it.
Don't even risk it. Get a different kicker. But, you know, any position players or skill players, if it's just normal snow, normal bad weather, that type of stuff, they're still starting. Anything extreme, that's when you want to maybe make a swap. So, forum questions. First one comes from Junior41.
You get a koozie.
013. Get one of these bad boys. Wide receiver question. We got 4 here. Riley Cooper at Minnesota. Edelman at Miami. T.Y. Hilton versus Houston. Or Mr. Crabtree at Tampa Bay. 53% are saying Riley Cooper right now.
Yeah, and I'm going to agree with the community. The reason why I like Riley Cooper is the Dallas Cowboys are clearly the worst defense in the NFL. But in my opinion, very close behind them is the Minnesota Vikings. Nick Foles has been playing out of his mind. He loves Riley Cooper. I think in a standard league, he finds the end zone. I like him for that reason. I know my counterpart over here kind of likes Edelman, but I'm saying more of a PPR, and Brady just isn't as good without Gronk around. It hurts everybody.
Edelman finds the end zone a decent amount.
All right, the next one comes from Bruchel87. Wants to know Rashard Jennings versus the Kansas City Chiefs, or Ball, your boy, versus the San Diego Chargers. Community right now is saying you got to go Jennings.
You know, I really think Ball has another solid game. I think there's a decent chance he finds the end zone again. But it's just a little too risky because it's going to be on limited touches. With Jennings, you know he's going to touch the ball a ton. If there's any goal lines, he's going to get them. If they're behind, he's going to be out there catching passes. If they're ahead for whatever reason that happens, he's going to be getting all the carries. I think you got to go with the volume play here and go with Jennings, even though it's a slightly tougher matchup. But I do love me some Ball.
He had a monster game last week. Killing me in the leagues I had no shot.
I loved it. All right, wide receiver question from NFalcon1. Larry Fitz at Tennessee or Danny Woodhead at Denver. 57% are saying Larry Fitz right now.
Yeah, and I understand the reason for this question. Heading into the game last week with Tennessee, with Denver, all you heard was all the stats. Oh, they don't give up touchdowns to receivers. They can lock them down, but it's the Broncos, so you still have to play them. And, of course, Peyton crushed them. So now you're thinking, oh, well, will they go back to the old Tennessee? Maybe. But with that said, Larry Fitzgerald has been playing great. I think he can certainly find the end zone. I think he can, certainly do his own against those corners. And a little foreshadowing, you're about to hear why one of us two doesn't like Woodhead that much this week. So I'll let him talk about it in our next segment. But I'm going Fitz.
I just remembered something that was really bugging me. Khalil Bell. Khalil Bell was the guy. That'll make a little bit more sense in a minute. But
clearly we're shooting for the second time over here because, Prima Donna had to.
Calm down. All right, let's get into our dud sleepers and deep sleepers. My dud is Danny Woodhead. It's Khalil Bell. It's been bugging me for like 10 minutes. Danny Woodhead is my dud. And here's what I want to say about it. PPR leagues, deploy him like normal. I think there is a decent chance he gets a decent amount of touches, catches a lot of passes. But I think with his matchup against Denver, I think people in standard leagues might think, oh, they're going to be playing from behind. A lot more Danny Woodhead. I don't think that's necessarily the case with how well Matthews has been playing. He's been getting involved in the passing game. So don't necessarily just plug him in, thinking that he's going to get a lot more touches this week. Because I don't know if it'll necessarily happen. And my sleeper is Jordan Todman. MJD might not play this week, so I think there's a chance that Todman gets in there. He will be backing him up. And I was trying to think of Khalil Bell.
That's who it reminds me of from a couple years ago when he played on the Bears. Is that who it reminds you of?
Okay. Because these guys get a chance to start towards the end of the year, a lot of times, and the running backs are breaking down, and they seem to, a lot of times, do really well. You know, they're playing for their life in the NFL. They've got finally getting a chance, and that could be Todman.
So for all 7 people out there that remember what Bell did in like 07.
Oh, it's more than 7, because he won championships. You don't forget people that helped you win championships. And then my deep sleeper is EJ Manuel going up against Jacksonville. If you saw my waiver wire show, you know, you heard how I was saying that I'm getting a little annoyed with how much love for Jacksonville that's going around. Yes, they're winning games, but their defense is still terrible. They're giving up a ton of yards. They're still giving up a lot of points. I know EJ Manuel had an awful game last week, but if you're in a deep 12, 14 team league and you're looking for a high upside quarterback, I don't mind him this week.
All right, my dud's going to be Bobby Rainey, and obviously he had a monster game last week, but the only reason why was the second play from scrimmage. He had an 80-yard touchdown. After that, he did nothing. The couple weeks before that, he did nothing other than his monster first game. So the reason he's my dud, if he was on your bench last week, he should probably be on your bench again. He's playing a tough San Francisco 49er team, and it's such a hit or miss type of thing with him. I don't see him breaking another long run. So don't bench a stud just because he had a great game last week on your bench. My sleeper is going to be Dennis Pitta. You know, I picked him up in a couple leagues. I'm contemplating starting him over Jordan Cameron. I'm probably not going to, but in a PPR. And here's why. He played in less than 50% of the snaps last week, and he ended up with 6 catches for 48 yards and a touchdown. Flacco clearly loved him being back. I think Pitta could be a difference maker if you're, been scrounging for a tight end for the last couple weeks. And my deep sleeper is going to be the Philadelphia Eagles defense. Yuck. They've been not good all year, but they've been playing a little bit better.
Decent.
They've been playing a little bit better, and Minnesota, I don't think is going to have AP. I think that's really going to hurt them. I could see them being a nice pick-up and play, possible type defense.
All right, let's move into Mike's picks. And I guess I should have read this before I said what I said about Jacksonville, but...
What, Khalil Bell was on the Bears and had a good run? Is that what you're going to talk
Spiller,
about? Because we had to start
Spiller,
over for that.
Yeah, and I remembered, finally. CJ Spiller going up against Jacksonville. And he wanted me to say that Jacksonville's been tough as of the last 4 weeks. I don't necessarily agree with that. Yeah, but I think Spiller's just scary for other reasons. You know, he's kind of hit or miss with whether he's healthy or not. So Mike doesn't like Spiller this week. His sleeper's Cordero Patterson, and I actually really agree with this one. I like this call because I think there's a good chance that Patterson sees some rushes with AP maybe being out. I mean, I think he could get 2 or 3 carries.
Side note, you're in a keeper league, you're out. Go ahead, drop your kicker or whatever. Just pick him up.
Especially if your league counts return yards. He's probably already owned if it does, though.
Maybe not.
And then the deep sleeper is Chris Ogbonnaya going up against the Bears.
I like this.
The Bears have been giving up a lot of yards on the run as of late, or on the ground
Bears
as of late. And McGahee doubtful. I mean, even when McGahee plays, it's not even that amazing anyway. But McGahee out of the way, might be a few more carries for Ogbonnaya, so he could have a decent week this week.
A certain running back with the name Bell used to play on the Bears.
Why are you so fixated
Head
on this?
coach.
If you remember Khalil Bell, give me a little bit of love.
I'm not saying I don't remember. I'm just saying you thought it was the most important note ever to tell people.
I just couldn't remember, and I wanted to remember. He won championships a couple years ago, week 15-ish.
That was so good and didn't even notice it.
If you got any questions, post them in the forum.
It hit the side of the camera, but you can't even see it. Santa's coming next week. Santa! Santa. You hate
I'll
Santa.
hit the camera.